Welcome. This recording will show the steps on the broker's side to request the cancellation of an erroneous trade executed into Xstream and M7 trading systems. We suggest you to check the price and volume of each transaction after concluding it. If you find that the transaction is erroneous and you want to cancel it, you should take appropriate action to do so. Detailed transaction cancellation rules describing the trade cancellation process and the related materials are available on the tg.pl website under Trade Cancellation. These include forms: the recall request form, the withdrawal of recall request form, a declaration of will of the other party to the transaction, and also supporting materials: completed model of recall request form, template of message for sending the recall request, and instructions for submitting recall request for Xstream and M7 systems. In the Xstream system, the recall request is made by submitting a form filled in with the details of the member that is submitting the recall request and trade ID to be cancelled. In the form, you need to enter the code of the exchange member or its name, or both. The name of the broker making the application should also be entered. The last element is to enter the numbers of the transactions to be cancelled. Transaction numbers can be found in OpenGate application in Company Trades tab and ID column. The number of the selected transaction can be copied with the shortcut Ctrl+C and pasted into the form using Ctrl+V. The completed form should be sent from the email address of the broker filling the application to dn@tge.pl and immediately confirmed by telephone at 4822 341 9960. The deadline for submitting a correctly filled in form is 15 minutes from the moment of concluding an erroneous transaction, provided that the deadline for submitting the form ends 5 minutes after the end of quotations on a given instrument. If an incorrectly completed form is submitted, TGE will immediately communicate this information by telephone, and it will be necessary to correct and resubmit it within the previously mentioned 15 minutes from the conclusion of the transaction. If the application form is submitted correctly, the broker will be informed by telephone and TGE will start the process of cancelling the transaction in the Xstream system. A single recall request form for cancellation may be submitted for transactions entered into on the basis of a single order. However, it is possible to submit several recall requests for using a single form. All the transactions numbers to be cancelled must be entered in the form, while the number of orders from which they result and consequently the number of submitted applications will be determined by TGE after cancellation process is completed. When a recall request is properly submitted, the TGE will contact the members that are the other party to the transactions to be cancelled. Those members will be asked to send within 15 minutes a declarations of will of the other party to the transaction. A form for this declaration is also available on the TGE website. Transactions will be cancelled if the other party to the transaction consents to the cancellation, or in the absence of such consent, if the error in the order on the basis of which the erroneous transactions was entered into is considered self-evident. The criteria for assessing whether an error is self-evident are set out in the detailed transaction cancellation rules. If the broker, after submitting the recall request, wishes to withdraw from the recall, a completed withdrawal of recall request form should be sent to dn@tge.pl and confirmed by telephone. Submission of a withdrawal request is possible until a decision is made to cancel the trade or to refuse permission to cancel the trade. If you wish to cancel a transaction executed in the M7 system, the process is done directly in the ComTrader broker application. The request recall can be made no later than 5 minutes after the conclusion of the transaction, provided that the deadline for submission ends 15 minutes before the end of trading on the instrument. In the Own Trade tab, click right mouse button on the transaction you wish to cancel and then press left mouse button on recall. Then confirm you wish to cancel the transaction by clicking yes. You should immediately confirm this action by calling 4822-341-9960. If the transaction is between members of TGE, the cancellation will be automatic. The broker will receive a cancellation notification and the transaction will disappear from the on-trade list. If the other party to the concluded transaction is a member of another NEMO, the status of the transaction will change to recall requested and TGE will act to obtain the NEMO's consent to the cancellation. If such consent is obtained, the transaction will be cancelled and removed from the transaction list. If consent is not obtained, the cancellation request will be rejected and the transaction status will change to recall rejected. Each use of the recall option counts as the submission of a single recall request, provided that requests submitted for transactions entered into under a single order will be treated as a single request and application fees will be charged once. If a transaction is cancelled, in addition to the direct cancellation message, the broker will also receive a notification in the Message tab. Thank you for your attention.